Hey you guys, what's up? This is James here at Unique Perspectives. Thought I'd make another video. I wanted to actually touch on the topic of not lying to people and trying to accommodate them, especially when, it's not a very healthy practice. And I'll try to explain what I mean in the video here. As someone that really enjoys communicating with people, and I also have relationships with people from different diverse backgrounds. I have people in my life that are Christian like me. I have some very devout people that I know that love the Lord, that people that minister to me, that I would say God has sent to guide me. But I also encounter people that are, people in other religions, other faiths, and other worldviews, people that have other political views. And I, of course, do not believe that I have the authority to change their minds. It has to be the truth. It has to be God. And so with that comes a lot of responsibility of understanding as a Christian, I have, this authority that has been given to me. And this is something Jesus shares in Matthew 28 when he's sharing the Great Commission, that all this authority, from Jesus is not only instilled in him, but now he's passing it down to his children, those that are following him, followers of Christ, Christians. We have that authority that Jesus has given us to actually speak his truth in love. And so I think it's important to understand that there's a foundation for what it is that we're supposed to do in the first place. So I just wanted to share a verse or two before I really just expound a little bit more with what I wanted to share. As a Christian, of course, I value truth. I value consistency. I value something that represents God's authoritative nature. That is truth. That is light. That is what we see around us, the reflection of reality. And I think that we have people in our lives, obviously those outside of Christ, that they're okay with bending reality. They're okay with seeing things that aren't really there. Sometimes I'm talking about inconsistencies. I'm talking about people that are perfectly fine with neglecting the truth. I'm talking about people that will create and fabricate stories so they can turn themselves into the good guy and everyone else is the villain or the bad guy, and not being accountable for their actions. So I really want to share just a verse or two, and then I want to share a little bit more about the responsibility of being honest with people, even if you're risking offending them, to tell them the truth, even about themselves. So John 17:17 says, "Sanctify them in your truth. Your word is true." This is Jesus, and this is a portion of the high priestly prayer found in John 17. Now, obviously, Jesus is making reference to God's word, the Bible. And so as a Christian, my understanding as a Christian, someone with a Christian worldview, is that God has already provided the foundation for truth in his word. And so if anyone says anything that even remotely close to something that is the opposite or is antithetical to what the Bible teaches, they are wrong and the Bible is right. It doesn't matter how religious you are. It doesn't matter how many Bibles you own. It doesn't matter how devout you seem outside. If you're living in sin and you're denying the things that God has already established in his word, you are wrong and the Bible is right. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about is the idea of accommodating people that are living lives in delusion, or they're creating reality and bending reality so it can fit their needs. Now, I've met people that have actually lived very decent lives and they have ruined their own lives by themselves alone. They launched themselves into disparity by sleeping around, and now they have a bunch of children from women that they don't like. And somehow they have created the reality that they are the victim to all of these women. Maybe it's child support. Maybe it's all these court dates they have to go to. Maybe the government is somehow garnishing their checks and all this other stuff. And they somehow have created a reality that everyone else is the bad guy and they didn't do anything wrong. Now, I think that it's important when we deal with people like that yes, it's okay to sympathize with them and say, hey man, it's unfortunate that your wages are being garnished, Man, it's unfortunate that the court has to tell you a very inconvenient time that you need to be in court by a certain day. Yes, it's very inconvenient that you have to deal with maybe a lot of the children that you have created with a lot of these women that you don't actually like. You never really liked in the first place, but maybe it was just a temporary little fling that you thought you can get away with. So yes, I can sympathize to some extent. Yeah, it's a very inconvenient life, but ultimately, I'm not going to lie to that person and tell them, hey, it's everyone else's fault. I'm going to say, hey, you did this by yourself. God didn't force you to do this. No one else forced you. You put yourself in this position. You did this to yourself. You did this. Because if you didn't sleep around, you wouldn't have to deal with this at all. All your money would go in your pocket. You would not have to go to the government or deal with the court system or anyone. It's because you chose this for yourself. Now, I can respect someone that can say, you know what? I did this. I put this on myself. I can respect that, okay? As a man, I can respect a man or a woman that can be accountable for their actions. But what I'm talking about in this video are people that do not take accountability seriously. They don't see that they actually put this on themselves. They're looking at everyone else and they're talking about Mr. Baby Father or Baby Mama issues, and they're talking about these people they had already forgotten. They chose these people. They chose to implement these people in their lives by sharing their body with. That's a very intimate thing to do with somebody that you don't like all of a sudden. You need to be incredibly careful with who you share your life with and who you share your body with. If you don't see that they're qualified to be your partner, you don't need to be dealing with them. Another issue that I find that a lot of us sometimes position ourselves in is we deal with people that will create these realities that don't exist. And some people think that it's loving to lie to them. It's loving. No. I'll be honest with you. I've been in situations in which, when I was much younger and, before I was a Christian, I thought it was loving to just stay silent and be quiet when somebody was complaining about an issue they brought up on themselves. I've even met people that lived a very nice life, and anytime that they did something to destroy themselves, they blamed it on somebody else. And they start fabricating stories of a really destructive lifestyle when everything was fine. They had a supportive family, they had a food, they had maybe chores to take care of and all these other things, and then somehow they found a way to ruin themselves and find a way to use everyone else as the scapegoat. Now, as a Christian, somebody that loves and values truth, I'm not going to agree with somebody that's lying. I'm not going to agree with somebody that's even under the illusion that they're telling the truth and it's not the truth. If somebody is saying something that's not honest and truthful, I'm going to call them out. Now, I don't think that we should be rude to people. I don't think that we need to be angry with people. I don't think that we need to be emotional with people. But I do think that if you love somebody, and especially if you're a Christian man or woman, not to entertain someone's sinful lifestyle. You have the responsibility to have your allegiance as a priority first with God before you start accommodating or how you decide to treat somebody. God first, and what he says goes, and then you decide from there. As God is the foundation, then you decide how you approach someone. There are a lot of people that are going to get really sad and they're going to get incredibly emotional because you're going to say things that they don't want to hear. But let me tell you this. One of the reasons why I refuse to bend and break when it comes to this thing is most people are surrounding themselves with yes men. What I mean by that is there are a lot of people that do not have anybody around them that will tell them the truth. They only surround themselves deliberately with people that will tell them the things they want to hear. If a guy is sleeping around and he's having fun and then he's complaining about a woman, plenty of the people that he's surrounded with will say, oh yeah, she's really bad. Oh, she's bad. And someone like myself, I'll say, well then why are you dealing with her if you don't like her? Why aren't you using the brain that God has given you and select someone that you actually like? Why are you sharing your body and your seed with somebody you don't like? It's the same thing with a woman. I meet ladies and they say, oh, these guys are all dogs and these guys are, and I would say, well, where did you find your partner from? And sometimes it was, oh, hey, well, I found this guy at the club. I remember one of my lady friends, she told me she went out to a club, she was hitting it off with a guy, and then all of a sudden, later on, as the guy was connecting with her and he was buying her drinks, accommodating her, and after 2 hours of talking with her, he admitted he was actually married, but he was still trying to see if she was open to it. And so she's talking to me about this situation, and she said, I don't know why this guy was doing this, and I don't know why he responded this way and why he was married but still hitting on me. And I told her straight up, you put yourself in this environment. You went to a club. Who did you think you were going to meet over there? You're going to meet a drunk. You're going to meet people that don't respect themselves. You're going to meet people that don't respect themselves. You're going to meet people that don't respect you. They just want to have fun. So again, I think it's important to hold people accountable. It's not loving to stay silent as a person is falling in despair and they're creating a reality that doesn't exist. There are a lot of people I know that are suffering from mental health issues, and it just makes it worse when you accommodate their delusions that they've created for themselves, things that never existed. And I think it's one of the worst things and hateful things. I almost want to emphasize that. You have to hate somebody to not tell them the truth in love, to correct them and say, hey, I know this might be hard for you to listen to, but you're wrong on this one. You're wrong. And there's no evidence to verify what you're telling is the truth. And that's another thing. I've met people that you can actually have the evidence literally and point to them and say, hey, you're actually wrong about this. And they still will find a way to be the good guy in the story. And so I don't think it's loving to lie to people intentionally or even stay silent when the people that we love are in jeopardy. Not only for mental health issues, but I'm talking about in any aspect of life, whether it's relationships, whether it's being reckless, whether it's creating lifestyles and the past traumas that never existed. Maybe they put themselves in those positions. I think it's important that we speak up and love and correct people enough to love them and say, hey, you know what? You need to work on this. Or you know what? I was there when that happened, and that's not how it went. You're creating and exaggerating a story that didn't happen, or you're putting in more into the story that never took place. And this can apply to anybody. This can apply to your friends, your family members. This can apply to co-workers. But I think that if you love somebody, you owe them the truth. You owe them the truth and love, even if there's a risk that you're going to offend them. And there are many times that I have had very awkward conversations with other Christian men, and they tell me, hey, James, you're a Christian man. You should take that down from social media. This doesn't look very appropriate. This is something that you can cause someone to stumble in their faith. This is something that you can handle, but somebody else may not be able to handle. And so it's important that we understand we need to be careful and we need to be mindful of moving forward in our relationships and loving people enough to tell them the truth. Now, I think that one of the best things you can do is teach somebody that you're not going to lie so you can accommodate their delusion. I think that it's very dangerous to do that as well, because if you don't correct somebody and tell them, hey, actually, you need to work on this. This is not your strength. This is actually weakness. Now you can actually give them an opportunity to be better people, because now that you've told them, now they can make progress and start working on those things or reflect on it. But if you don't say anything, they're going to think nothing's wrong. It's a very important topic for me. Hope you guys were able to get something out of this. God bless you guys and take care. Peace.